Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Dodge this.
Hello, and welcome back to the Holy Moment Podcast, a podcast where we watch movies with you and discuss the moments that work, the moments that don't, and the moments that reflect truth in realistic ways. I'm your host, Nathaniel Lirio, definitely not a cyborg. Jeffrey, as an actor and future voice actor, how would you say my Arnold Schwarzenegger impression in The Terminator was right there? Would you give it 1 out of 10? I assume it's at least an 8 out of 10. But please tell us, how good was that?
You know, I thought that we had acquired Arnold Schwarzenegger, former governor of California, as guest for this episode. And then you break the news to me right now that that was you the whole time. I'd say I'm impressed, but I'm more disappointed.
I am, in fact, unfortunately, not a super jacked white dude. I'm, in fact, kind of a pudgy Asian. But no, guys, it's an inside joke. Not even an inside joke. It's just if you know me, I am god-awful at impersonations and accents. I can't do accents. It's like a family thing. My brother can't. My sister can't. Any accent I try to do just sounds like a really, really bad British accent. And I just can't do impersonations, as you just saw with my Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonation.
It was highly entertaining, though.
Thank you. I started it and I was like, because I practiced it earlier. And earlier I was like, this is half okay. And then I started it. I was like, oh my gosh, this sounds so bad. But I was like, screw it. This is our era of where I'm filming out of a closet on my crappy laptop and I can't edit very well. So I was like, screw it. I'm not restarting this. We're committing. But yeah, guys, we're doing our genre for Schwarzenegger. So this is my pick. So I'm hosting today and I picked The Terminator. Just because I felt like when you think of Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's probably the most iconic role he had. And it's one that I hadn't seen before that I feel like as a film student and a movie lover, I had to rectify that. So that's why I picked it. I've seen a lot of the other ones, but I knew this was the OG. I knew people really love this one, so I wanted to watch it. But Jeffrey, before we jump into this, I want to hear your best, specifically Terminator Schwarzenegger impression.
Okay, let's see here. I am the Terminator. I'll be back.
Hey, that was pretty good.
Are you Sarah Connor?
Do the one where the janitor knocks on the door and is like, is there a dead cat in there? Oh, here, we'll role play it. I'll be knock, knock, pop, pop. Hey, is there a dead cat in this room?
Fuck you, asshole.
Very good. I think this is the podcast. Just me and Jeffrey Reed's doing this whole movie.
Trading impressions. I love it.
Oh man, no, that was really, really good.
I do Schwarzenegger impressions a lot. In
really?
solitude. In front of the mirror.
In solitude.
Just to myself. That's what my inner monologue is.
I like to think as soon as we exit the podcast, Jeffrey just exists in his closet and he's just doing Arnold Schwarzenegger impressions to himself.
That's true.
Do you remember the movie Boy Kills World? It came out, I don't know, maybe 2 summers ago. It's a newer movie. I don't know if you heard about it.
No.
Okay. Long story short, our main character is mute by choice. I can't remember. He doesn't talk. And his inner monologue voice is narrated by the actor is escaping me, but it's the main voice actor for Bob's Burgers. So the idea is it's this like teenage boy or maybe young 20-year-old, and it's voiced by the Bob's Burgers guy. It's like an older, gruff man. I like to think Jeffrey's going around in life, and it's just like Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of like, oh, do I put salt or pepper on my steak? See, guys, that's my impersonation compared to Jeffrey's. Comment down below, who has the better Arnold Schwarzenegger accent impersonation? Email us at theholymomentpodcast@gmail.com and tell us your thoughts. Who's better at this?
I will say, I'm super happy for Arnold that he's been able to have such a lucrative career for himself despite having such a thick accent. I think that's a hurdle that it's really cool that he's been able to overcome that.
You're reminding me in this moment, Jeffrey, I meant to do research because I knew this was kind of one of those films that catapulted his career. And I also know he has a super unique career being an immigrant from where?
Austria.
Austria, yes. Okay, yeah. Immigrant from Austria and then, the muscle building, and then the governor of California, and then a movie star. He's done a bunch of stuff. So I thought it would be an interesting episode to kind of talk about him as an actor. But I forgot to do that because I have a hectic week. So I apologize.
Fine. Well, here's one thing that might be worth mentioning. His first lead role in a feature film, he was playing Hercules, and they dubbed over his voice.
Really?
And so it's someone else's voice, but Arnold's body.
Is it just like a live action Hercules movie?
It's a live action Hercules movie, right? And so you see Arnold Schwarzenegger, but the voice is very much like, I am Hercules,
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I don't actually. Funny, Jeffrey, when you picked the genre or the category of Schwarzenegger movie, I was looking up on Letterboxd to see what I should pick, and I've seen very few of his movies. I really haven't seen a lot of his stuff.
I've seen, I think, 2 or 3.
Okay.
Total Recall's the movie that spawned this category, me pitching it. That's a great movie. Honestly, I think it's infinitely better as an action movie.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Well, we're gonna watch it maybe next week because that's your Schwarzenegger pick, right?
That's right.
Very good. You know what that movie has in common with this movie?
What?
Besides Arnold Schwarzenegger, boobs.
Oh, that's right.
That's true. That's the only overlapping theme between the two movies. They have Arnold Schwarzenegger in it, and they have boobs in it. So what more could you ask for in a movie? Honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Having seen a few Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, are you a fan of his act? He has him and who plays Rambo, and Rocky.
Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, they kind of have a similar super ripped, super macho, thick accent. Maybe the acting's kind of heavy-handed. Are you a fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger's acting, or do you find it a little eh?
I like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think he's such a fun actor. Is he a good actor? I don't know. I don't think so. But
I want him to manifest in your closet and beat the shit out of you for saying that. I'm too afraid to say my opinion on him as an actor because I feel like he's just gonna kick the door down and then beat me up.
Oh, but here's the thing. I think that it's easy to. The fact that he has a thick accent might keep us from seeing the performance as there's a world in which one could say maybe he's better than we give him credit for, and it's just hard to see past the accent. But I also just think that his delivery sometimes is very wooden, which in this role works because he is a robot. And he's supposed to be off.
Yeah. His accent definitely worked for him in this movie, being a kind of emotionless robot killing machine. Well, I appreciate you letting me know your thoughts on him because I haven't seen a lot from him. I know he's kind of beloved, but I also don't know if it's a beloved because of his weird journey as in the movie industry rather than him as an actor. Because I know he's played in some really iconic roles, but again, I don't know if it's more of his mannerisms and his physique and his accent that led to that rather than his acting skills. And also, there's not one way to act. It's not like we were talking literally last week with Life is Beautiful and how we talk about Roberto Benigni. Is that, wow, I remembered an actor's name. Good for me. Good job, Nathaniel. But how Roberto Benigni won an award, and his was much more it was Italian, and it was very over the top and rambunctious, and not melodramatic and moody. So there's a ton of ways to act. I'm not starting to say there's one way to act, and that makes for a good movie. That's what I want to get into a little bit with the movie because I actually have some gripes with it, and it's not necessarily just because it's a movie that's not up my alley, but I feel like it's a movie. We'll just get into it. I don't want to start off the episode with me kind of sharing my nitpicks. But yeah, today, guys, we're going to be talking about the Terminator. Let me just give you a little bit of background so you kind of know what's going on. But also, I feel like most people have watched the Terminator. I feel like most people listen to our podcast are men in their 30s and 40s, and they would have seen it. So the Terminator, I forgot about this. I knew it at some point, but I forgot this was directed by James Cameron and Gail Hurd. So just kind of, I forgot about that.
I did too. Immediately, I saw the name James Cameron. I paused the movie. I went to my roommate and was like, did you know that the Terminator was directed by James Cameron? Like the Titanic?
Yeah, the Titanic. Yeah, yeah. It was funny because I was on his Wikipedia page, and he looked so different in like the '80s. He had like long, flowy hair and a mustache, kind of looked like Ashton Kutcher a little bit compared
Mm.
to his like the picture that everyone thinks of him nowadays. When you think of like the director of the Avatar series with his white hair. But I mean, I guess that's what happens when you get older. You look older. Truly scientific. But yeah, okay. So it was directed by them. It came out in 1984, which also blew my mind because this movie feels so much newer than again a movie like Life is Beautiful, which I just cannot get over that came out in 1998. It just feels like such an old movie to me. And then this movie, coming out almost more than a decade earlier, feels like a newer movie. And again, it probably has to do with the fact that Life is Beautiful is a period piece, and not Blade Runner. Gosh, the Terminator is a science fiction movie, but still, I was surprised by the fact there's a decade difference, and the movies felt like swapped. Like I would think the Terminator was filmed in 1998, and A Life is Beautiful was in 1984.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think that the practical effects in the Terminator were quite impressive,
Yes, yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
and that
But
might have
yeah, oh,
contributed
you
to
go.
that sense of, well, this feels newer because it's doing more things that visually impress me. I really enjoyed Life is Beautiful, but cinematography wise, it didn't blow me out of the water. Um, and I can't say that this one blew me out of the water cinematography wise either, but as far as production design goes and special effects, it did a lot to impress.
Yeah, and I feel like Terminator would be the movie that's going to capitalize on cutting edge technology for 1984, where Life is Beautiful is probably purposely using older cameras, filming it in certain ways, doing it on film, doing coloring it certain ways to make it look older. So they were quite literally both working, one working backwards and one working forwards. But still, I don't know why it's just stuck in my brain that 1998 was Life is Beautiful. Crazy. Um, but yeah, okay. So James Cameron, if you don't know who James Cameron is, not in a mean way, not like in a you're stupid type of way, but I just would be surprised if you're listening to our podcast. But James Cameron, he is the director of Titanic, the Avatar series, and Aliens. The movie. This is something I kind of want to talk about. Do you know the budget for this movie?
No, I don't.
Take a guess.
I would say like a million,
A million? No, it was 6.4 million.
six
Which
point
I
four
feel
million.
like, yeah, and obviously when you're making these movies, you don't know if they're going to be a big blockbuster hit, but uh, like nowadays when you make like the Avengers and Marvel's movies, you put a lot of money behind them because you hope that they're going to make a lot of money. But 6.4 million I thought was, and obviously got to account for inflation, so I don't know, let's just round it up to 15 million for nowadays. But I thought for this pretty action packed, going, maybe some cutting edge technology with the later half of the movie, the Terminator robot stuff we see. I thought 6.4 million was a very good budget, and it made about 80 million in return. So I thought it did a very good. I was impressed with the budget. I
Yeah,
was
it's
impressed.
awesome. Yeah, I was thinking, oh, like he's asking me to guess, and whenever people are asking, I figured like it looks like it's going to be on the cheaper end.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. It's like when
so
a woman asks you to guess her age, you always go younger. You always go like 13. Even if they're like 80, you always go younger. Lowball them, Jeffrey.
listen, if you're on a date with that woman, then you'd better not say 13.
I'm trying to respect women, and you're over here. You're probably gonna guess like 80. No, no, no. If I go on a date with someone, I'm not guessing any higher than 15. That's for sure. 'Cause I'm trying to set them up for a compliment. Like, oh my goodness, you're only 22. Crazy.
That's
Uh,
right. Yeah, they can't help but be complimented when they realize, oh, the person that asked me out, they thought that they were asking out a minor.
I think it's the nicest compliment there is. Kidding. That being said, so our cast. I like that this was a close knit cast because they literally killed every other person that entered the screen. Um, Literally everyone died at the end of this movie that was ever on screen besides Linda Hamilton's character Sarah Connor. But we have Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator, Michael B. Hahn as Kyle Reese, and Linda Hamilton, Sarah Connor. And I I thought they all did okay.
I'm
No,
with
I'm
you
gonna
there.
take that. I'm gonna take that back. I thought two of them did a pretty decent job, and I thought one was pretty bad. Can you get? I want you to guess.
All right, the bad actor would be
I want you to rank who I thought did the best to middle to worst
of the three main.
of the three main.
Okay, so I think Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to be one or two, simply because he fits the role. Right? Um, okay. I'm going to go Sarah, Arnold, and Kyle.
You nailed it. That is 100%. And I could almost flip Arnold with Sarah by Linda Hamilton. I think he fit the role, and he acted really well within the role. Like, he's supposed to be emotionless. He's supposed to be this big brute. But I think I just enjoyed Linda Hamilton's character and the evolution of this very, not about pritzy, but kind of just like a very, like your average woman in the 1980s. I don't really know what that means. I don't know what the average woman in the 1980s means compared to now. But, like, you know, she was worrying about hanging out with her girlfriends and paying rent. And then by the end of the movie, she's like, I'm going to lead the rebellion leader and destroy all of AI. Yeah. So I just liked her evolution. And I thought she owned it really well. I thought Reese did a pretty bad job throughout the whole movie. And his actor, Michael. Just personally, I didn't really like him.
I agree. I think that Kyle Reese is the stupidest motherfucker on planet Earth. Sorry, pardon my French. but he gets detained by the police, right? And rather than coming up with some story that makes sense for the time, like, he tells them the truth. You can't expect them to accept the truth. I told you guys, I'm from the future and I'm being chased by robots.
That's exactly how it sounded the whole movie. That was so accurate, Jeffrey. I imagine just how, like, there's like a devil on one shoulder and an angel on one shoulder. In Jeffrey's mind, it's the Terminator's voice and then Reese's voice in his head. Be like, Jeffrey, you should do this. No, Jeffrey, you shouldn't. Those are the two voices in Jeffrey's mind 24/7.
I just feel like they sent him back in time with no contingency plans, no plan whatsoever.
Well, I think, at least in his defense, he set it up to the future shit. Like, I think he had one throwaway line, like, it was the robot's last ditch effort because we were winning. Like, what's the son's name? Something Connor.
John Connor.
John Connor.
Yeah.
He was like, he turned it around. I'm like, every flashback we ever saw, you guys were clearly losing, and eating and living in a cesspool. I don't think you guys actually turned it around. So I think he got sent back as a last ditch effort. And I really thought it was going to be like a big reveal of like, hey, I got sent back, and basically, like, cause he did say like the it was a one-way trip because of the time machine got blown up or something. So I thought it was going to be a big reveal of like, basically like, yeah, actually all humans are wiped out. I'm all that's left. If you die, we're done for, which, I mean, ultimately is kind of the storyline, but I thought there was going to be a more dramatic reveal. But you know who Reese reminds me of?
Who?
I think this is like the second or third time I've thought of this, so it's crazy that this character comes back so much. The freaking dude guy from Super Baby Geniuses 2. Zach? Is that his name?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he seems like kind of like a dumb Zach.
The one
like
that's
a war-hardened Zach.
Raised by a baby, yeah.
Yeah, the guy raised by a baby. I mean,
also,
the fact that he wasn't raised by a baby, but like raised by his own son, because he went back in time and had sex with his, I don't know, it was all very confusing.
Yeah, his son was his mentor or commander in war, which it's so strange because I have to assume that John Connor knew that Kyle Reese was his dad, right? Mm-hmm. Imagine, like, you befriend this guy, he's your buddy, and now you have to sort of be his wingman to get him with your mom? It's
Back to the Future, is it not? Are you familiar with Back to the Future?
I've seen Back to the Future, except in that he's avoiding...
He's kind of doing both, because he's trying to avoid having sex with his mom, but he's also trying to get his dad to hook up with his mom. So it's kind of like a little bit of a Back to the Future situation. But I do like the idea of, like, in the future, where it's like the apocalypse, John gives Reese a picture, and it's like, hey, here's my mom. Isn't she super hot? You should go back in time and bang her. You should
exactly
do that.
It's like he's manipulating Reese into having this massive crush on his mom, and now when they need a volunteer, he's like, please send me back in time so I can have sex with your mom. I need this, please.
Yeah, and Reese doesn't put it together, but Reese wouldn't put it together. He's too dumb. He's the character. He is the character that is in an apartment room with Linda Hamilton or Sarah Connor, and they're making homemade bombs. And he's helping Sarah make them, and Sarah's about to screw the cap on the bomb. He's like, whoa. You're being too aggressive. You got to do it really slowly. Next scene, he's pissed off and he's shoving the bombs as hard as he can into this duffel bag. Also, with just the worst, like the definition of overacting. I get it. It's this big action movies in the 80s. They probably did a little more overacting, but just, do you remember the scene? He's like shoving a bomb into the bag and he does the same motion every time. He's like, huh, 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 huh. It's just like the exact same facial motion, the exact same sound effect. Just, it was so bad. And anyway, so just this idiot that's like, oh, you got to be really delicate with this bombs. And then next scene, he's just like, as hard as he can, throws them into a duffel bag.
Yeah, he wasn't very convincing to me. It was always funny. I found his performance funny.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I will say, if I learned, right, if someone came from the future and told me that my unborn child would become the savior of humanity, right, keep humanity from the brink of extinction, like, I'd name him something cooler than John. Right?
What would you name him?
I don't know, like Caesar or Octavius, something really cool.
That's fair. What would I name if I knew my child was going to save the world? What would I name him? You know, what if I just named him Nathaniel Lirio? You know, what if I just was a little bit arrogant and I was like, oh, what if I name him myself, and then that way I can kind of live on in legacy.
Yeah, that way, it's like, yes, he's this famous person, but he'll always be the second. Nathaniel Lirio, the second. Right.
Exactly. I mean, that's kind of how you have it. Like, you have it going on. Like this, I like that this movie, there is an honoring and praising of Sarah Connor. They are like, hey, you're a badass woman that raised the like god of the next generation. So I do like that there is the honoring of her.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. Also, I know we're kind of jumping around here. We'll go to the beginning in a sec, but I also love the scene where he admits that he has feelings for Sarah because, and again, I get it. He's thrust into the future. He is fighting against a Terminator. He is woefully unprepared and outmatched. Every second he is just trying to survive. So I get it. We don't have time to like build this romantic relationship. I understand. But I just thought it was funny when he finally revealed his feelings. He revealed it like he was a sociopath. I just looked at your picture for hours on end and I just fell in love with the idea of you. Oh, I shouldn't. Oh, I just like, he's creepy.
Line, every curve.
Yeah. Yeah, I just like if I was freaking Sarah Connor, I would not have the hots for him and be like, yes, have sex with me. I'd be like, this guy's insane.
He also probably smells really bad.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I mean, in the future, you got to believe they don't got no soap, they ain't got no dish detergent. He can't clean his booty hole. He's stanky.
Also the fact that he leaves her alone in the hotel room to get supplies. That's like the worst thing you could do. It didn't end badly for her, but I'd be taking her with me everywhere.
That's fair. But see,
and she gives her a pistol, right? You know a pistol's not going to do anything.
Yeah. But he knew it's Sarah Connor. It's the badass mother. He knew she would survive. But yeah, I do agree that it was the ability to cut out an extra location. They were running behind with budget and time on the film set, and they're like, just leave her behind. We don't have to show the grocery run scene. But we're jumping around, but let's back up to the beginning. Let me give you let me paint a picture for those of you who don't know anything about the Terminator. So, in a grim future ruled by machines, a cyborg assassin known as the Terminator is sent back to 1984 to kill Sarah Connor, a seemingly ordinary woman whose future son will lead a human resistance. Simultaneously, Kyle Reese, a human soldier, is also sent back to protect her. As the Terminator ruthlessly begins tracking down every Sarah Connor in Los Angeles, Kyle finds the real one and helps her narrowly escape. Sarah, terrified and confused, begins to grasp the magnitude of what's unfolding. So, with that I will say they don't pussyfoot around. They really get into the action and get into this high concept idea of a film. Did you like the opening bit with like the Terminator? What I really liked about the opening bit was the duality and cutting back and forth between the Terminator showing up and being really effective, killing people coldly and cold blood, getting their clothes, getting weapons really efficiently, and then you have Kyle showing up and he's kind of a bumbling idiot, again, understandably to some degree, has trouble getting weapons, has trouble escaping the police, has trouble getting clothes. Like, did that whole opening bit work for you?
It really did. I think that's one of my favorite bits of filmmaking in this movie. Seeing how woefully equipped Reese is for the task and that gives the audience an idea of the enemy that we're up against, right? The odds are not stacked in our favor, but this is all we have.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. It is also probably my favorite to second favorite scene in the whole movie. Just the editing was really good, and they do a good job of setting up the stakes and the characters without any dialogue. We have this machine. Excuse me. We have this machine that is capable of anything. It is amazing. It is class act. It can do it all. And then we have this guy that is just, yeah, as you said, woefully unprepared. And I just thought it really was a good job of setting everything up. So I just, even off that scene alone, I had higher expectations going into it. But unfortunately, I just feel like ultimately I was let down by the movie feeling. It's funny to say that it feels generic, because the one thing the movie has going for it is that it probably founded a lot of these types of movies and was groundbreaking for the time period. So it's not generic in the sense of it stole from anyone, because it's one of the first ones to do it. But now after, 3-4 decades of movies since then, it doesn't feel as impressive.
Yeah, I would say I concur with that.
Yeah, that's fair. How did you feel about Sarah's character? Like kind of like I talked about earlier, she has a pretty cool evolution. Yeah. But when she's first introduced, she's more of just this, waitress who's just trying to get by in life. Did you find her endearing, annoying, somewhere in between, neither or none of it?
I would say I found her endearing. I like that she's just a girl, right?
What a good statement. When you put that on a shirt, you're just a girl.
Yeah, she's very normal.
Yeah.
And I think she's a character that a lot of women could see themselves in, right? And she has this promise of great potential that we see snapshots of, right? But she's never fully what she will be, the badass like soldier woman that trains her child to be the leader of men, right? She's very close by the end, but she's still very much a girl that's struggling to pay the bills and wants to have fun with her friends and wants to go on dates and gets stood up, right?
I agree. She felt the most real. Obviously, the Terminator and Reese come from the future, so they're going to be less grounded. But she really, like you said, she just felt like a girl. She just felt like a person. And I think in movies past, other female protagonists, especially, who I think might be one of my least favorite female protagonists we reviewed on this podcast? The girl from The Mummy. I can't remember her name.
Oh, yeah.
I thought not the actress. I just think the writing of her is pretty abysmal. But yeah, I thought she had her own things going on. She didn't, like, obviously Reese kind of had to save her, which makes sense. You have a Terminator, a killing machine after you, and she's just like a 20-something-year-old woman. But she just felt like she was her own person doing her own life and wasn't necessarily needing anyone to help her. And she just kind of was existing, and it felt very real, and I appreciated her. Again, this is an action movie. It doesn't have to have the deepest, most complicated characters, but I actually found her very fun to watch.
Yeah, me too. And one scene that got a big laugh out of me is when she picks up the phone for her roommate Ginger, and Ginger's boyfriend starts listing off all of these really graphic.
Do another interpretation, Jeffrey. Let's hear that. What's the boyfriend sound like?
It's like, I'm going to bite all the buttons off of your shirt and I'm going to rip it off with my teeth. And then I'm going to kiss you up your stomach and
okay, but before you turn on too many of our audiences, we'll cut you off there. But anyway, so you're saying that scene specifically.
Yeah, so he's really making an ass of himself unknowingly, because it's not his girlfriend, it's Sarah. And then she basically brings that to his attention, right? Hey, it's actually Sarah, and he's super embarrassed, right?
Yeah.
Super shy about it. He's like, oh, I'm really sorry. I thought you were Ginger. Can you bring Ginger on the line, right? He's like, sure, I can do that. Hands the phone to Ginger. He immediately jumps into doing the exact same thing.
I thought it was great. Yeah. And I liked it because I felt like, I mean, he was killed in like 2 seconds, so he's not a character at all, but he could have been a classically douchey jock type character. But I'm really happy when Sarah was like, hey, it's me, Sarah, not Ginger. He was very cute and shy and coy about it. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, he was a lot of fun. But that reminds me of, I guess, this movie I knew a lot more compared to a lot of other movies. I knew the whole gimmick of the Terminator. What I wasn't ready for, and this is one of my favorite things about this movie, because we don't get it as often. I liked how much violence there was, and hear me out when I say violence. I liked how much thriller, dark, kind of scary violence. You could argue that Marvel movies and other big superhero movies and things like Bullet Train, all those movies, a lot of them I like, but there's violence in all of them, different levels of violence, but the violence all kind of feels washed. And when I say washed, I mean one of two things. One, it's like the Marvel movies where the violence basically doesn't amount to anything because it's like PG-13 and no one can die. So it's like, yeah, Hulk is going to smash Loki a bunch, but it doesn't really feel like violence. Everyone feels immortal. No one really is ever going to die, it feels. And then you have something like Bullet Train, which is more grotesque, over the top. I don't even want to say glorification because that's a negative connotation. It's just there's so much violence all the time. Someone's always getting stabbed through the eye. Someone's throat's always being slit. Someone's always being choked out by acid, which again, I think that's really cool. But what I don't think we get nowadays is this more violence that just exists and sits in the room and makes sense and is dark. And what I mean by that is I just liked in this movie, The Terminator, it didn't feel like glorification of violence. It didn't feel like, hey, we need another set piece. If we don't have a really cool over-the-top 3-head decapitation, triple spin, headshot, the audience is going to get bored. But it also didn't feel like, hey, we need to pander to our audience. We can't be too violent because we got to be family friendly. So, have someone get knocked out by a blunt object and they're obviously clearly dead, but we'll just say he's knocked out. I thought this violence was intentional. It needed to be there. It was so brutal, but didn't draw attention to itself. So when the Terminator shows up in Los Angeles and he just starts killing everyone named Sarah Connor, I thought it was pretty evoking. Even though movies nowadays, they have more violence, more frequently, there's just something about how matter of fact it was. There was no attention drawn to it. I'm going to kick this door down and I'm going to gun down this mother in the head and then I'm going to move on. I just thought something about that violence was refreshing. Does that track at all?
Oh, it tracks 100%. Something I noticed is I was expecting to see more gore. I was expecting, okay, he shoots the people, and then we're going to cut to the bodies, and we're going to see all of the gaping holes and the brains blasted out. But like as you said, it didn't focus on that, right? We'd see the Terminator like shoot the people, and then we'd move on to the next victim.
Mm-hmm. It made the violence feel more rooted and real, rather than fake violence where someone's just knocked out, or over the top violence. And what really keyed, I appreciate that they key you in right away within the first 2 minutes of the movie. The Terminator shows up naked because only living matter can be sent back. And I love when Reese is in the police station and he's getting interrogated. And they're like, well, if you say only organic matter, because he's like, why'd you show up naked? Or why didn't you bring laser guns? He's like, I can only be sent back naked because it's only organic matter, yada, yada. And they're like, well, what about this machine guy? He's like, he's enwrapped in skin. I just thought, like, what a horrible answer. First off, if that's the case, why not kill a dog and shove a laser gun in the dog and be sent back with a laser gun? Just
that's a good
come
point.
On, Reese. Think it through.
But also, he's giving this information to the police officers as if it's super obvious information and that they ought to know it. Right?
Yeah, come on, you dumb bitches. Like, don't you know your time machines can't send back laser guns? Come on. Funny guy. But the point was, the Terminator, shows up naked. And within the first 2 minutes, he shows up and there's like these 5 ruffian skateboarder guys. He's like, give me your clothes. And like, we're going to cut you with our knives because we're in the UK and don't have guns. And I thought it was going to be a classic. He's going to dispatch them. He's going to probably punch one in the face, but he just rips one of their hearts out, basically. He just like shoves his hand through the dude's chest. And I was like, whoa, I was not prepared for that. So again, all that to be said, I really liked how they conveyed the violence. And it was something that I was consistently pleased with. And I was really sad when Ginger and her boyfriend died. That is what I was too.
I enjoyed them as characters.
Yeah, like I said, they killed everyone. Also, they killed it's just little things like this. Like, the black police officer that they were like toying with, kind of making a character. Again, you can kill him off. That's fine. He doesn't have to be a main character. That's fine. But don't like toy him up to be vaguely important and then kill him with literally doing nothing like at all. He just was no one.
He was a bit of an oddball. I don't think he ever came across as competent to me. Like, even in the beginning, when his lieutenant is showing him the documents and he's explaining what's on the documents, is like, I can read. But then he has a question because he's not reading the files, right?
Yeah. If you could read, you would know this.
Yes.
Yeah. So just how they introduced him and how he was kind of like the nice guy that was taking care of Sarah Connor when she was at the police station, and how his like chief assistant was kind of an ass and he was the one always putting him into line. They just kind of keyed him up as someone like he was going to be a father figure mentor role, basically, where he would tag along with Sarah Connor and Reese, and then at the end sacrifice himself. But he just was gunned down unceremoniously like everyone else in the police station. I'm like, you could have done something. It just felt like if you weren't the three main characters, you got nothing. Besides Ginger. I thought Ginger was delightful. Happy that she got to have sex before she died. Sad she died. That's my thoughts on Ginger.
No, that's fair. As for the police chief, I was sure that they would give him a moment where he recants his earlier skepticism. He goes, okay, I think that this guy, there was something to him after all, right? Maybe those would be his last words, like, all right, I believe you. He's from the future. Bah.
Yeah. Like a sending off type of moment, but just nothing, just unceremoniously gunned down.
Yeah.
It just felt like a lot of characters got that. Also, I figured out, Sarah Connor's a bad friend. She should have named her son Ginger in honor of her dead friend Ginger, who she kind of inadvertently killed.
Yeah, that would have been a sweet gesture.
Ginger isn't the worst guy name. Like,
yeah,
I think.
I don't think I've ever heard of a guy named Ginger, but it could be done.
Yeah, I think I definitely think it could be done.
Dorian was not a name until Oscar Wilde wrote The Picture of Dorian Gray and named his main character that.
See, yeah. You can make up whatever name you want. So Sarah Connor, bad job. You decide to name your son John. Boring. You could have named him Ginger. He could have been cool.
Names are just words. Names are just sounds. Words are sounds. You can make any sound you want.
Quick, make a sound a name.
Gulk.
Ooh, that was kind of good. Let me see if I can say it. Gulk.
That's close. Gulk.
Okay. Gulk.
There's like almost a rolled R in the back of your throat.
Yeah, it's like you're rolling an R while vomiting.
Gulk.
Very natural. Gulk.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry, guys. Hey, at the Holy Moment Podcast, if you're like a husband and wife, or just having a kid, email us at theholymomentpodcast@gmail.com if you don't know what you want to name your kid, and we'll name your kid for you. Well, we'll come up with a beautiful, unique, one-of-a-kind name. No one else will even be able to pronounce it. That's how good of a name it will be.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have any cool names that you would like for us to review...
If you have any cool names who you want Jeffrey to name his first kid, let us know. If you send us an email at theholymomentpodcast@gmail.com with a kid suggestion name, Jeffrey has to, by obligation, name his first child that.
Absolutely. That's true. It has to be done before the next episode comes out, though.
Okay. How about 2? Give him a little bit of leeway. 2 episodes.
2 episodes, sure.
2 weeks. You have 2 weeks to name Jeffrey's kid anything you want. The sky's the limit.
When was the last time we checked our email?
I mean, I get notifications on my phone, so
okay.
I'm a prepared man.
All
Jeffrey
right, cool.
Jeffrey revealing that he doesn't check our email, that he doesn't care about what you guys have to say about us.
No. Have you received any emails as of late?
The last email I got was from Dropbox saying that a new suspicious thing had entered into your Dropbox account, but it was just me from Iowa instead of Georgia. So that is in fact
you, Dropbox,
not interesting.
For being such a faithful listener.
Amen. Agreed.
Maybe we'll shout you out again next episode if you send another email.
That would be very lovely. But back to the movie. Let's see. Can I connect it? Speaking of nice listeners, good listeners, um, I really feel like the Terminator would make a good therapist. He really listens. You know what? You know what I appreciate about the Terminator, which is I think his whole gimmick. I like how to the point he is. I also like that he wasn't killing randomly. Like there were multiple times where he could have killed people. Like when he got into the truck, the semi truck, he's just like, "Hey, get out!" And I'm sure if the guy resisted him, he would have killed him. Oh, I got to speak about one of the funniest moments in the whole movie. I mean, if I saw Arnold Schwarzenegger dressed the way he was dressed, maybe carrying around a gun, I would also be scared. But I love that anytime we got a POV from the Terminator's point of view, there would just be people in the most pathetic way cowering out of the way. Like he's just walking and you'll see someone be like, "Oh, no, don't touch me, please. You have a leather jacket on." But the pretty early on in the movie when we have the first car chase where Reese just makes contact with Sarah and they get in the car and they're running away and the Terminator's chasing them. The Terminator steals a cop car and he walks up to the cop and like lightly touches him on the shoulder and the cop like, oh, like slams himself against the car door and then like falls over. It was the most pathetic thing I've ever seen in my life. And I was watching with my fiance and she just turned to me like they hadn't figured out stunts in the 80s apparently. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, go find that scene and just watch that cop's reaction to the Terminator like lightly brushing him. And the cop just basically, it's like soccer. You know, in soccer, how the joke is they are always pretending to get injured. That's that cop.
No, that is an interesting observation because I'd noticed too that I felt like I was more aware that people were faking reactions and jumping to imitate like the recoil, right? Or being hit and the force of it.
Yeah, which
it didn't strike me as particularly bad. I just noticed it more.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I noticed and I feel like it felt bad because it felt really cheesy. Obviously in action, the way you get shot in real life, the way you get punched in real life is not the way you portray it in movies because it's not always believable. You want it to be over the top and big because that's how the audience comes to expect it nowadays because how many people have actually been stabbed or shot or punched in the face. But I feel like, so you do want it over the top, but in this movies, it just was so gimmicky that it drew attention to itself. And it wasn't all the time, but when it did happen, I was like, what? Why did they decide to do that? That looked really dumb and bad.
Yeah. No, I do like that he was selective about who he killed. Because I guess, in the future, their primary objective is killing all human life. But his mission is very specific. It's very surgical. We're taking out this one person. And, if we can stay on the down low, that would be cool, but we understand if that's hard.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely, it's a good idea for a movie. I think it's been done before now, but again, for it being one of the first ideas and a cool concept with it being a robot assassin from the future, I liked it. I liked that he had such a clear vision and was just, it made for a very again, that's another thing. I thought this was going to be more action adventure. It was more dark action thriller. The Terminator definitely gave a very embodying, scary presence, especially at the end when he's just the skeleton, like the exoframe of the machine and chasing after them. I really like that he was this unstoppable force.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
I remember enjoying Terminator 2 more than Terminator 1.
Really?
Yeah, and I think watching Terminator 1 is important context for appreciating Terminator 2 in a greater way. And of course that feels trite and obvious because of course it's a sequel, right? But are you familiar with the premise of Terminator 2?
I think I've seen very small bits of it. Isn't John Connor a young boy and Arnold Schwarzenegger goes back in the past to save him?
Yes, yeah. And so Arnold Schwarzenegger, Terminator, is a good guy now. But after having seen the first movie, it's understandable that you'd be highly suspicious of him.
And I will say, I since I kind of vaguely knew that from the other movies, when he first showed up, I did think he was the good guy. Granted, very quickly when he stabs a guy through the heart with his hand, I was like, oh, he's probably the bad guy. Don't think this guy's the good guy. But at first I did think he was the good guy being sent back and that other dude was the bad Terminator. Also, I thought Reese was the son for a quick second, so that was kind of disproven when they had sex. But for a hot second, I thought he was the son, and he just like didn't want to tell his mom who he was.
I thought that the first time I saw Terminator 2. I mean,
Even while they
Terminator
were
as
having
well.
sex, you were like, "This still might be his son."
I mean, hey, Luke and Leia.
Yeah,
I mean,
Star
they're
Wars
kids.
can do it. Why can't Terminator do it? You know, beautiful. Here at the Holy Moment Podcast, we learned that incest makes for the best storylines. So next time you're writing, Jeffrey, really keep that in mind when you're writing your next feature film.
Of course, yeah.
Okay. Tell me before we go into the holy moments. Tell me your least favorite. Well, Jeffrey, you mentioned I think before we got on the podcast that it maybe wasn't as good as you remembered or as you wanted it to be. What? I guess let me just ask you, what are your, and maybe I shouldn't be doing this at like 46 minutes into the podcast, but what were your overall thoughts and opinions of the Terminator?
I thought it was a fun action film. I wasn't blown out of the water. I like Total Recall better as far as Schwarzenegger action flicks go.
Yeah, because there's three.
The
movies
action's
in it
more over
compared
the
to two.
top. The production design and even the special effects are more impressive. The concept, and this is interesting because like both concepts are really cool, but I like the concept of Total Recall a lot more too, and it does a good job building a world.
Hmm.
And so,
Oh, sorry. You continue.
no, what were you saying?
I was gonna say because I'm pretty sure they did a Total Recall remake in like mid to late 2000s, like I don't know 2010 or something.
Yeah,
And I
haven't
watched
seen
that.
one.
Yeah, I watched that pretty young, and I remember the concept being cool, but I can't quite remember what it is. So don't tell me. I'm excited to go in blind for that because I just do remember there being a cool concept, something to do with memories, if memory serves me correct.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I think I couldn't help but compare the two movies because I've seen Total Recall fairly recently.
Okay. Yeah.
But I thought it was fun.
Yeah. If you were a female, would you find Arnold Schwarzenegger hot?
I don't. I think he's an attractive man, but I don't think I'd be attracted to him personally.
You as a male, do you find Arnold Schwarzenegger hot?
I mean, I think it's impressive, like what he has molded his body into. Right? He was a bodybuilder before he was an actor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's where he got his initial fame. So there's this one clip. I think it's from a documentary about his bodybuilding where he says something along the lines of, "For me, exercise is like coming. Like it gives me that kind of high. It is unmatched."
I mean, like you gotta believe he's telling the truth. Like with how much dedication he gives to exercise, and exercise is a dopamine thing, like orgasms. So
Yeah.
I guarantee you, I bet he has lifted before and had better like dopamine than during sex, which is crazy. All I know is when I lift is I'm tired and sad and it's hard. No,
Yeah,
no
I
good
used to-
dopamine.
Yeah, I used to lift semi-regularly. It was like last year I got into a habit, and I really enjoyed it. I felt better in my body, and I did feel the sort of high afterwards. It never reached, I think, Arnold's heights, but
The day it does, Jeffrey, send me a text. The day you
Will
leave
do.
the gym and you're like, oh my gosh, this was amazing.
I've got to change.
That's rancid. That's gross. He's over there doing cable curls and it's like, I need a new pair of shorts. With that being said, we really went into the depth of the Terminator. Guys, I need to apologize. I said it last episode, but if you didn't watch last episode, I'm in a weird living circumstances for about a month. I'm back home in Iowa running a fireworks stand, living on my best friend's house. I'm recording in a closet right now for my crappy laptop. And I've been watching all the movies on my phone because I haven't been able to watch them on my laptop. And so I just haven't done, it hasn't been the easiest watching the movies and really engaging with them. So I apologize if the next few episodes I'm a little all over the place. But I wanted to talk about really quick of this concept in film, specifically in, oh my gosh, why do I always want to say Casablanca, but that's not the right. What's considered the best movie of all time?
Citizen Kane?
Thank you, Citizen Kane. The whole debate, when you go to film school, the whole debate of Citizen Kane being the best movie of all time, yada yada, and there's a bunch of different takes on it, but basically a lot of people boil down to, is Citizen Kane the best movie of all time? Probably not. But is Citizen Kane maybe the most influential movie of all time? Probably. So therefore, does it deserve the title best movie of all time? I don't know. I'm not here to answer that. But my question for you, Jeffrey, is that's what I personally feel like is going on with Terminator. If Terminator came out nowadays, I don't think it would have near as much love and praise. And I'm just curious, don't beat me up, people, but I'm just wondering if Terminator is just kind of like a nostalgic thing. Like when it came out, it was impressive visuals. When it came out, it was a really cool concept, a cyborg from the future trying to assassinate someone. So I understand for the time, it really did set the pace and the genre for kind of this action sci-fi type world. And also, I usually don't like sci-fi worlds. I like the sci-fi world because it was mostly just our world, which is my favorite type of sci-fi worlds. Like Incept, like our world with a little bit of twist to it. I don't like outer space sci-fi like Star Wars, but that's a conversation for another day. But my point being is, should movies be ranked on their own merit, or should movies be ranked upon also what they've done for the film industry? And for me personally, I would say you could divorce them. Like, we can appreciate the Terminator for what it did for the film industry and the genre kind of created and the technological advances in both writing, story, and in filming. But I don't think you can necessarily then say that makes it a great movie. Because to me, I thought it was kind of a wash. I thought the characters weren't very great. I thought the action was mediocre. I thought the plot wasn't all that interesting, and they didn't do anything to dive into the interesting facets of the plot. They really just gave you future assassin, go kill, and now they try to run away for the whole movie. And it was just pretty underwhelming for me. So what are your thoughts on that? Like divorcing the two, or do you think they're one and the same?
Yeah, well, one, I think it's still a very strong concept, and if they were to remake the film today, I can't guarantee it would be a good film, but perhaps that same concept in different hands with a different script. It could be done in a way that brings people to the theaters.
Yeah, I would fully agree. I just want to interrupt. I don't have an issue with the concept. I don't think it's a bad or boring concept.
Yeah,
I just don't think it was pulled off. It just felt like a first draft kind of, here's the first idea of the concept, but there's nothing more to it. Okay,
that's fair.
Continue.
That's fair. As for how I judge movies, it's multifaceted. I try to look at, okay, what does this film do well technically, right? Is there a technical kind of excellence to it, right? That's the more objective, third-person view that I try to keep in mind. But also, I look at my own personal enjoyment, right? And I look at what was the director trying to accomplish, and did they accomplish what they set out to do? And then influence. All of those factors meld together into my ultimate estimation of a film. And it's hard to juggle all of those different considerations. Although if I gave two considerations more weight than the others, it would be, did the director do what they set out to do? And did I enjoy it?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, I guess, can you give us an answer for both of those? Do you feel like James Cameron did what he was trying to do, and did you enjoy it?
Well, it's this interesting thing where it was a very successful movie, right? And it became very well loved. And so it met the tastes of the time. Perhaps James Cameron's tastes were aligned with the times. I think he more or less set out. I'm sure there are things he would have improved, but I think that he made the film that he wanted to make.
Mm-hmm. I would fully agree with you. It definitely seems like a movie with direction. It seems like a movie with a vision, and it seems like a movie that the director was happy with what he got. I just think it was underwhelming. Again, in 1984, this really could have been pushing the boundaries in a lot of ways. And also, we know James Cameron is a director that likes to push the boundaries when it comes to visuals. Titanic, crazy feat for the time. Avatar, I don't even need to say, absolutely game changer for CGI, and is still a game changer with the new ones. So he really is clearly a director that puts the visuals, and not just like the pretty cinematography, but like what can the newest cutting edge do for us. And again, obviously us in 2025 sitting here watching it being like, yeah, the robot looks horrible, but ultimately this was 40, wait, yeah, 40 years ago. I can do math. This was 40 years ago. For the time, I'm sure it was cutting edge. I'm sure in 100 years, we're going to think Avatar doesn't look great. But the point is, I think James Cameron definitely got what he wanted. I just think for me, as a movie watcher and writer and director, he prioritizes things that I wouldn't have prioritized. And that doesn't make it a bad movie. That just makes it not my cup of tea. And this conversation, I'm realizing, like, I am not an artsy, fartsy movie. Like, my favorite movie of all time is The First Matrix. Like, I'm not a high snob. I love all art film. But I'm realizing I don't like a lot of, I don't hate any, but I don't like a lot of the big trilogies and franchises. I don't like the Terminator franchise that much. I don't like Indiana Jones that much. I don't like Star Wars that much. I don't like Star Trek. I don't like Jurassic Park all that much. Maybe I'm just outing myself as a horrible movie watcher. Again, all these movies I enjoy, and some of them I do like. I'm not trying to say all of them, but all of those ones are like, out of all those movies I just said and all the franchises, not any, like, I can't think of a single one that, like, that is one of the best, top tier, 10 out of 10. And I guess that's just for me personally. I'm just finding with these movies.
That's fair. What are your thoughts on the Lord of the Rings movies?
I really like them. I
Yeah.
will say, I think the Lord of the Rings, man, I didn't have any issue saying what I just said earlier, but this I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm treading on dangerous territory.
Be careful.
Yeah, I think first off, the Lord of the Rings, phenomenal. Amazing. 10 out of 10. But I do believe Lord of the Rings is better. But I will say about 2 years ago, me and my fiance did a bunch of, we did the Narnia movies, we did Harry Potter, we did Lord of the Rings. I loved all of those. But we also rewatched the Hobbit series. And I think I enjoyed watching The Hobbit more than I enjoyed watching Lord of the Rings. And I am not saying that I think The Hobbit is better. I'm not. I fundamentally think Lord of the Rings is better, and I think I like them more. I think just that season of life. I had also rewatched Lord of the Rings recently, and I hadn't seen the Hobbit movie since they came out in 2012. So I think I just enjoyed it more.
That is a hot take. Wow, that's so
but
interesting.
Again, I do like Lord of the Rings more, and I do think they're better. I just think in that moment I liked it. I'm very much a moment type of person. Like you could just catch me on a wrong day and I'm like, I hate this movie. And I watch it again. I'm like, this is the best movie ever.
That's fair. I think that environment really affects your experience as well as the people that you're with. I remember first time I watched Bullet Train was with several friends. I was feeling off that day. And I was honestly feeling a bit off about the people accompanying me. And so I got home and I thought, I wasn't really a big fan of that movie. It's sort of generic. Second time I watched it, I was on a plane. The person in front of me was watching Bullet Train, and they had headphones on, right? And I was just sort of watching it over their shoulder. And yet, in this moment, for whatever reason, I really enjoyed the movie, right? And I think what I mean by that is I was allowed to see how visually effective that movie is at communicating itself to the audience, right? I did not have to hear what was being said in order to understand what was happening.
Mm-hmm. No, that's funny. I have a lot of thoughts on that actually. First off, have you seen Bullet Train a third time?
No.
We should watch it together. We have a mutual friend, Jeffrey, and I, who really wants to rewatch the movie. We should watch it with her. Bullet Train is phenomenal. Bullet Train is so freaking good. I love that movie. So I think you should rewatch it on a bigger screen and a better experience with better people. So first off, we should just watch that. Watch it for the podcast sometime. Great movie. But secondly, what was the concept going to be? Guys, you get to hear me talking out loud because, like I said, I'm not editing these really this week because I can't really with my laptop. So this is the internal thought. Quick, Jeffrey, do Arnold Schwarzenegger my internal thoughts as I try and think of the thought I was trying to have.
Oh, let's see here. I wonder what Nathaniel is thinking about right now in regards to Bullet Train. Does he think that it is better than the Terminator? If he does, I will have to kill him.
Oh, I remember now. Okay. Thank you, internal Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was just on the idea of I agree with you, Jeffrey. That's why movie theater is just the best experience. Like, you go, it's an event, you get dinner, you get popcorn, you watch the people you like, it's on the best screen, the best sound. Something that I actually am kind of bummed about with the podcast is I love why we're doing it, and most of the time I'm able to watch movies in a good way. But every once in a while, I mean specifically right now, because again I'm in a location where I have to watch movies on my phone. Sometimes you're forced to watch movies that are really good in less than desirable situations because you have to do it for the podcast.
Yeah.
Like, I always love watching the movie for the podcast. It never feels like homework. But sometimes because of scheduling, I'm forced to watch it in undesirable times and locations, which is a bit of a bummer. Yeah. I try really hard to be protective of how I watch movies because I'm such a temperamental, in the moment type of person that if it's off for some reason, it will warp my perception of the movie. So I try my best to give the movie the benefit of the doubt by giving it the time it deserves and the location and the people and the food and everything to make it at its peak. So that way, if the movie sucks, it is sucking for its own merits and not something else.
Yeah, we should after the season's over, we should rewatch some of these movies and see if our opinions change.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it would be cool if we could ever watch them together, because the peak way for me to watch movies is buck-ass naked, just sprawled out with pizza. So
what a coincidence. That's how I watch movies.
Well, beautiful, Jeffrey. This is good. This is very good. We'll be able to enjoy movies at peak. But unfortunately, when you live in someone else's house, you can't sprawl out buck-ass naked just because they have children in the house. Oh, no, Nathaniel, put clothes on. Like, okay, calm down.
That's great. I actually couldn't hear the last 3 seconds.
Oh, could you not really? Well, just in case the audience couldn't hear that, I was just joking, saying, since my favorite way is watching movies buck-ass naked and I'm at a friend's house and they have children here, they don't like me doing that. That's the joke. But now that I had to repeat it, it's not very funny. But with that said, guys, we've been rambling on long enough and not about the movie. So let's wrap it up, Jeffrey. What is your holy moment of the Terminator?
I would say the duality of Terminator and Kyle Reese at the beginning in their introductions was a great moment, great bit of filmmaking there. But also, I really appreciated the future setting. Whenever we'd cut to it, all the robots and the lasers and the sounds and the lights, it was very exciting. And it just sort of tickled the part of me that likes, robots and lasers. So
I hope one day to tickle that part of you too, Jeffrey.
Please do.
I hope so. That's speaking of that. That's something that I liked about this movie and Akira. Something that I'm not very well acquainted with, that I want to get better acquainted with. Because again, I'm not a huge fan of sci-fi, but I want to watch more sci-fi set on Earth, and they always have fun soundtracks. I felt like this had a really techno beat, goofy soundtrack. Kind of the same with Akira, and I've really been enjoying these sci-fi urban city kind of soundtracks.
Yeah.
So I get what you mean. Like the sound effects and the soundtrack of like the futuristic is pretty cool. That being said, for my holy moment, kind of tying into me talking about earlier the violence, how I really was taken back by the violence and how I liked how they portrayed it, specifically the final scene, where I really liked when they first explode the Terminator. I was like, if he died from that, then this is going to, I'm going to give this a 1. If he died from that, I already like not enough things. If he was killed in an explosion, boo. But then so they exploded him. All his skin melted off. Okay, now he's a robot. They shove a bomb into his chest. He explodes, and now he's a robot crawling. I really was impressed that it wasn't like action adventure. It was like action horror thriller. So not quite horror, but really thriller. So, we see Reese's dead body, and Sarah Connor is mourning it. And then all of a sudden we see the Terminator crawl over Reese's dead body, his guts, I say guts in quotation because it's wires and metal, falling out because he's only half a body. And then you have that really long scene of her like desperately trying to get away and the body clawing at her feet.
Yeah. It's really ironic that a machine feels like a force of nature.
Mm-hmm. I had this was a whole concept I thought about bringing up, but I didn't know if it was worth it. It's so interesting to hate a machine. It's such an interesting like obviously they personify it out the crap out of it because it literally looks like a human. It sounds like a human. It smells like a human. It sweats like a human, like Reese said. But at the end of the day, it is a robot programmed with a mission. It doesn't think. It doesn't care. It doesn't feel. So it's just so interesting to like harbor hate and trauma towards a machine.
Well,
just
I
a
think,
cool concept.
yeah, I think I can understand it though, because we're seeing right now how AI is affecting the livelihoods of people and of artists and of writers, and there's a real animosity towards them. And I think that there is this understanding that if we let it go too far, and it would be our fault, it could end disastrously for us.
One of my questions was going to ask you, do you think AI is going to turn into robots and kill us?
I don't think that they will turn into robots and kill us, but I feel like in the 50s, right, they would fantasize about robots doing all of the hard labor for us so that we could spend our time doing more human things like making art and writing poetry and playing music. But nowadays we have AI. It's basically taking all of the things that make life worth living, and now it's their responsibility, leaving us with more time to work on the mundane day-to-day work.
Yeah. It is interesting seeing AI companies try and spin it. I actually, as an editor, I work for an AI company. I don't know if I should say that, but yeah, I work for a company in the capacity of AI, and it's interesting working on their marketing videos, really trying to spin like, hey, we're here to take away the mundane, not to take away the art, the personal, the things that make us human, which is, again, I think that's what art should be used for. Or sorry, not art. That's what AI should be used for, to take away that stuff. And again, I think a conversation for another day, but I do think AI can be used to facilitate creativity. I really do. I don't think we should be so afraid of it that we can't let it affect our creative process at all. I think we need to safeguard it, and we need to be very careful, but there's always going to be tools. And if you're not, there's nothing wrong with deciding to make movies with old film cameras. There's nothing wrong with deciding to go out in nature, collect berries, crush them, and then paint paintings out of berries and deer skin you killed. Nothing wrong with that. You're welcome to do it. But as technology advances, we can use it to push us creatively. It doesn't have to take us over. But anyways, that's,
I think that's
not
fair.
a tangent I meant to go on.
Yeah. No, yeah. It should have guardrails. We can use it productively, but we should also have the ability to regulate it. So.
And we should not let it turn into hot Austria bodybuilders who kill us. We should avoid that at all costs.
Moral of the story.
Exactly. Definitely. But yeah. So that's my holy moment. That's Jeffrey's. I want to rank this movie because I know this is a beloved movie by many people, and it sounds like Jeffrey and I had some hot takes. So I'm curious, what do you give this? 1 out of 5?
I would say like a 2.5, sort of middle of the road.
Okay, I'm happy because at first I was gonna give it a 3 because 3 feels like a 2.5 to me. Like a 3 feels very average, even though technically 2.5 is average. 2.5 seems so low to me, just in my brain. But then I was like, I really don't know if I'd give it a 3. I'm gonna give it a 2.75.
Okay.
I feel like, there's enough things. I can appreciate the history of how it shaped film in a lot of ways. And like we talked about earlier, the concept alone is pretty cool. I did think Arnold Schwarzenegger embodied the Terminator well. I like Sarah Connor's character quite a bit. But at the end of the day, it just fell flat because it felt like they did nothing with the characters. It felt like they had a cool concept, and that's it. They just were like, look at this cool concept. Okay, we're not going to do anything interesting with it. So for me, that's why it's a 2.75.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I love, it's been a very long time, I feel, since you've given a film one of your like typical 3.5s or 4s or like 2s, just like a number that sort of quote unquote makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, I gave it a 2.75.
Yeah. No, what I mean is it's been a while, like 2.75 versus like 2.5 or 2.
Oh, so you're saying you like that it's been a while since that I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, when it hits me, the feeling hits me. When it's a 3, it will be a 3. When it's a 3.5, it will be a 3.5. But this movie is in fact a 2.75.
Yeah, no, I love that precision.
If anything, it's that for Sarah Connor's haircut at the end of the movie when she's in the Jeep Ranger, and she just looks badass, and she's about to go off into the desert to raise her son to be a badass warrior. I thought she had
Yeah,
such a cool haircut. It's so
really
cool.
is. Nice
Big
photo.
fan. But it's that time of week, Jeffrey. You should spin the wheel and tell me what movie I'm watching next week on a phone under a firework tent.
I hope it's not Lincoln because I think that would be the worst movie to watch on a
I
phone.
I had the exact same thought.
Yeah.
What do you have left?
Okay, I have Lincoln, Total Recall, and Paper Moon. But man, honestly,
Oh,
I
wow.
wish that man, I wish that you had like access to a TV.
I'm gonna try and
Because
watch it on my laptop. These next
okay,
ones instead of on my phone.
that would be great.
Man, this season's going by fast. We're already halfway through your list.
I know.
Wait, how? Because we're supposed to have 6 choices each, right? You did Vegas pick. You did your foreign film. You should have 4, right? What's your creature feature? You haven't said your creature feature yet.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah, I'd forgot to include that.
Okay, I was like, there's no way we're halfway through your choices. Because remember, last time
Recall
we talked, you were between Gremlins and Snakes on a Plane.
Snakes on a Plane. It's gonna be Snakes
That
on a
would be
Plane.
that would be a good watch. I will say.
Yeah.
That's prime phone watch.
Okay.
Okay, we'll spin that wheel. Let's see what we're watching.
Drum roll.
I try to do an Arnold Schwarzenegger's voice, the drum roll.
All right, we are watching Paper Moon.
Okay. All right. I know this is one of your favorite films, right? Because this is for your wild card pick.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. I might have to reevaluate if it's one of my favorites, but I do really enjoy this movie. So
Okay. Well, I will try my best to watch on a laptop. Well, folks, you know what that means. For next week on Wednesday, watch Paper Moon. It's an older film, right?
yeah,
Okay. And it's for your category wild pick. So you picked it because you just like it.
yeah.
Well, very good. Well, sweet. Well, go watch that, guys. And we'll be here next week at the Holy Moment Podcast to review Paper Moon. Again, you guys can catch us on social media on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, where we post our reels from our episodes, or you can watch the full-length videos on YouTube or Spotify. You can find us on Amazon Music, all the fun places. It means a lot. If you're a long-time listener or a first-time listener, it goes a long ways to leave a 5-star review. And if you leave a 5-star review on like Spotify or Amazon podcasts, shoot us an email. Tell us you did it. We'll give you a shout out. We'll say your name. We'll say your social security number. Whatever you want. Just let us know. But yeah, again, we watch movies with you. We discuss the moments that work, the moments that don't. We want to engage with you guys. We love watching movies, and we want to build a community of people who also love it. Also, I'm going to use this moment to do a little bit of plug. I just finished the first season of Severance, and holy cow, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Anyone else who made it to the end of this episode, do yourself a favor. Go watch it. I am very, very, very rarely impressed with live action television. I love movies and I love animated shows. I don't watch a lot of live action television, but it was phenomenal. So
I'll have to check it out.
Go
I've heard
watch
so
it.
many great things.
yeah, you should watch it. Jeffrey, you have access to my Apple account. You should
That's
watch it
right,
through there.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, guys, if you email us, maybe I'll send you my Apple TV information. On that note, love you all. Have a phenomenal week. Eat lots of ice cream because it's coming this summer. And if you don't eat ice cream during the summer, you're stupid and you're not a good person. Bye-bye.